Oh, crap. Oh, I'm on camera. Oh, yeah, that was a game I think I fell asleep through. It was that bad. And while I was napping, I think the Panthers punted the ball 5 more times. Holy crap, that game was bad. Welcome, everybody, to JG News, where we talk about all things NFL all the time. I'm Jerod, and I'm representing the 904 from the 602. And today, we are talking about this game behind me right here, the battle between the Carolina Panthers and the England Patriots, the first preseason game of the year for both of these teams, as the Patriots win on a wet day in Foxborough by a final score of 17-3. Now, there were a lot of takeaways from this game, the main one being that Jack Plummer, the quarterback for the Panthers, the Louisville quarterback, that was thrust into duty because Bryce Young is not playing this preseason and Andy Dalton is hurt. Plummer played about 3.5 quarters. He looked absolutely garbage. 51 net passing yards. He was abysmal. He does not look like an NFL quality quarterback. He will not be on a roster this season. That's one of the big takeaways for me. But what I want to talk about in this video regarding this game right here behind me is Bailey Zappe at quarterback, because I have no clue what head coach Jerod Mayo was doing with his strategy this preseason game. I have no clue what his goal was. I don't know what his intentions were, but how he handled the quarterback situation did not seem to make a ton of sense. So the Patriots had 12 drives during the game, not counting the final drive of the game, which was just taking some knees. So of the 12 drives, Jacoby Brissett started the game. He played the first drive. Drake May played the second drive. He went 2 for 3 with some checkdowns to the running back, and that was about it. And then the other rookie quarterback from Tennessee, Joe Milton, played the final 2 drives, and he looked pretty solid. Granted, when you play more than a base defense and you actually have a spy on Milton, he might not be able to do something he was able to do today, but he still looked pretty solid, all things considered. Threw a touchdown pass, had some nice scrambles. But 8 of the 12 drives were played by Bailey Zappe. 8 of the 12 drives that the Patriots had featured Bailey Zappe under center at quarterback. And I have to ask Jerod Mayo, what the heck are you thinking? What on earth was the purpose of having Bailey Zappe back there for 2/3 of the contest? We all know that Bailey Zappe is not making the roster. What's the point of preseason? Preseason is about evaluation. Preseason is about making sure that you know who's going to be on the 53, making sure that you know that you're making the right call with the roster and evaluating the guys you have on the team. We know that Zappe's not making it because you're going to keep 3 quarterbacks at a max. Jacoby Brissett, he's obviously on the team. You signed him in free agency. Drake May, he's making the team. He was your 3rd overall pick, first-round guy. He's the future. You know he's making the team. Joe Milton, you drafted him. He's making the team. If you're keeping 3 quarterbacks, those are your 3, because Zappe is the only QB with no ties to this regime whatsoever, and especially if it's between Milton and Zappe for QB3. Number one, Milton is way better, especially the reports of how he looked in camp, but he's also cheaper in that regard as well. You're not keeping 4 quarterbacks on the roster. You know that. You cannot keep Jacoby Brissett, Drake May, Bailey Zappe, and Joe Milton on the roster. Someone's got to go in that. If no one does, that's poor roster construction. So if you're not keeping 4 quarterbacks, and it's very clear the 3 that you're keeping, because they're the only ones with ties to you, and the guy that you have right now, Bailey Zappe, is not good in the slightest bit, it's a complete waste of reps and a complete waste of time to be playing Bailey Zappe for 2/3 of the contest when he has no shot whatsoever at making the roster. He is not even on the bubble. Bailey Zappe will not make the roster. It's a numbers game, and he's losing the numbers game unless one of the top 3 quarterbacks gets hurt, unless Milton, Brissett, or May get hurt, and the Pats can keep 3 quarterbacks, then guess what? He's not making the team. He's not making the team. We all know it. Now, you might say, okay, well, you're overreacting here because it's about increasing his trade value. Maybe the Pats are playing Zappe for a long time because they want to increase his trade value. You see that with specialists a lot, like kickers and punters. That makes no sense here. That argument falls flat on its face here because it works for specialists because there's not a lot of film available on these guys. With these specialists, you don't have NFL film. A lot of these guys are rookies or guys that have bounced around the league, and there's not a ton of film on these specialists. So you play them in the preseason, you're like, oh, wait, they're on a hot streak. They're looking pretty good. Let's try and get this guy. Our current specialist is not doing that well. Let's see if we can get this guy. With quarterbacks, it's not like that. No Bailey Zappe, no Bailey freaking Zappe. No one's going to trade for Zappe based on his performance in the preseason. He could throw for 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns a game and no one's going to trade for him based on this preseason. We have 2 years worth of data. We have 2 years worth of film with Zappe, and it's not pretty. He's thrown about 500 passes in his career or something along those lines. It's not pretty. You have tons of data on it. You're not going to make a decision on Zappe based on this preseason. If you like Zappe that much, you want to trade for him at the draft or after the draft. You want to trade for him now. And here's the other thing. Even if you did like him, if you do need a backup quarterback, you can get tons of options without giving up draft capital that are better than or equal to Bailey Zappe. CJ Beathard might get cut. He's QB3 right now in Jacksonville. If the Jags only keep 2 quarterbacks, Beathard's the odd one out because of Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones. In Cleveland, someone's getting cut that can play. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Tyler Huntley, I don't know who's winning QB3 there, but you know Deshaun Watson's number 1 and Jameis Winston's number 2. You're not keeping 4 quarterbacks. Again, that's impossible based on the way you structure a roster. So either DTR or Tyler Huntley is getting cut, or Snoop Huntley, whatever you want to call him. So they'll be available. Taylor Heineke, if the Falcons keep 2 quarterbacks, you know it's Kirk Cousins, and you know it's going to be Michael Penix. Nick Mullins could get cut potentially. Ryan Tannehill's available for free. Ryan Tannehill is still a free agent. He's still out there for some reason. These are way better options that don't involve trading for a guy, giving up draft capital for a guy that has shown absolutely nothing over the last 2 seasons. It would be a complete waste. So Bailey Zappe has no trade leverage. He has no trade potential whatsoever. He has no trade value. So if you're Jerod Mayo, I just don't get if the point of preseason is about evaluation, why you would play a quarterback, the most important position on the field, for 2/3 of the game when he has no chance of making the roster. He cannot help you in the evaluation process whatsoever. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not saying you play Brissett a longer time, more than a drive. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying play Drake May longer than a drive. It was a bit weird how they played Drake May because he only had 3 passes and 2 of them were checkdowns. Maybe it had to do with the weather, but Joe Milton could have played a lot more during this game because you need to evaluate him and see, can he be your QB3? Can he be your QB3? And you don't know that. You don't know if he's got it. I know he's looked good in practice, but you don't know if Milton can be QB3. So you want to get some live game reps with him over the course of an entire game. And again, we know Zappe's not making the roster. We know that. You clearly don't like Zappe. If you like Zappe, you wouldn't have drafted 2 quarterbacks this year. You would not have drafted Milton take over the QB3 spot. When Milton got drafted, that was the telltale sign that Bailey Zappe's getting cut. So why you play that guy for 2/3 makes no sense to me. And I don't know what Jerod Mayo was thinking, but definitely something to keep an eye on. And it'll be very interesting to see based on what happens in the press conference later tonight. Again, I'm recording this right after the game, so no press conference yet. And based on what the questions are by the media on Friday, why Bailey Zappe played 2/3 of this contest when he is not going to make the roster. But final score 17-0. Again, a very, very boring, bizarre preseason game. 18 punts combined across the 2 teams. Carolina punted 10 times, 4 first downs in the first 3.5 quarters with Plummer under center. Just one of those games, one of those dull preseason games. Sometimes you get good ones, sometimes you get crap ones, and this was the crappiest of the crap. It was bad. But what are your thoughts on the whole Bailey Zappe situation? Do you agree with Jerod Mayo playing him, even though he's probably not making the team? Do you think I'm wrong in that Bailey Zappe will make the team? Do you think he will be QB3 and beat out Joe Milton, which again raises the question why you draft Joe Milton in the first place? But what are your thoughts on that? Again, let me know everything from your thoughts on the preseason game in the comments down below. We did stream that game as we're streaming a lot of preseason games on my main channel, so be sure to be there for those streams when they take place. We have a lot more coming up this weekend as well. But that is going to do it for this episode of JJ9 News. Be sure to like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check my main channel, JaguarGator9, where we talk about all things NFL history all the time. Until next time, this is JaguarGator9 signing off. And as always, go Jags.